who came over to support the event this morning. Colonel Bob Wittestrom and Paul and Jim, okay, all United States Army. Who is it? Anybody else Army here tonight? All right. But we want to recognize everybody that did a lot for raising the funds for our troops, because there's nothing more important than those that are currently serving. We had our time in. We came home vertical with the best medal you could have on you, and that was that brass buckle on your belt that you were able to still use when you came home. There was a man standing out on the end of a reef one time, and he did this every Friday. He had a bucket of shrimp, and he was throwing the shrimp up at the seagulls. People looked at him, look at that weird old man. What's his problem? He does this every Friday. Must be some kind of a lunatic. Well, this guy was the leader of a B-17 crew that got shot down in the Second World War. He was an ace in the First World War. He was the first ace in the Second World War. There was an Air Force base in Columbus, Ohio, named after him. It's called Rickenbacker. Rickenbacker not only did all this for our country, but when he was shot down, he was in a raft with his men. They had no water, no food. Finally, one day, I think it was on about the 14th day, he laid back in the raft, had his hat over his head, and a seagull landed on him. He grabbed the seagull, killed it, snapped its neck, plucked the feathers, and the eight-man crew ate the seagull and stayed alive. They used the feathers and other parts of the seagull as bait to catch fish. Well, that kept them alive. I forget how many days, it was almost 100 some days. Was it? 3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah, they were out there a long time. See, I do need to share stuff here. Anyway, so when you see somebody doing something because he's old and he looks like he's feeble and he doesn't know what he's doing, he was throwing up shrimp to the seagulls, giving thanks that one of their ancestors gave him life. Okay, so something you might want to know about him too. He started Eastern Airlines. So anyway, that was Cliff's generation that did that, although he was older than you. But I finally met somebody that was older than you. So. Cliff is 94. Pretty glad, Jerry. You already got elected. Okay. Cliff served in the United States Marines in the Pacific Ocean down there in the islands. And I can't name all the islands that he was in. But he flew in C-46s, right? C-47. And DC-3. That's the same plane that the 101st and 82nd Airborne jumped out of going into Normandy. You can't say enough about what Cliff has done. The cane over there that you see, and we want you all to go over to look at it later, that's the last cane that Cliff has carved. And on there, it has every branch of the service. Okay? There's no one name or anything on it, except for Cliff's. When Cliff made canes for our wounded soldiers who came back with missing arms and legs, okay, he would have himself or someone in their family get a piece of wood that meant something to that individual. He would then inlay it in the individual, in the soldiers or sailors' cane. Their families were very proud of it, and they would always go and get something. Cliff also did a cane down at Camp Virginia. We were down there and got out there on the airfield of the Marines. Where's my Marines? And they took us out out on the airfield. And when we got back out from the airfield, Cliff was up in the Cobras and the Seahawks. They had Seahawks like Blackhawks. Anyway, we meet a man, a young guy, called him right now in Winchester, Kentucky. His hand was all crumpled up. He lost eyesight in both eyes. Okay? And he had a lot of trouble just getting around. Cliff, thanks to we talked to the man, and he says, let's take a picture of the handle. So Cliff carved a handle designed just for this man's crippled hand. So we're watching TV one night, and I think it was 2020. 60 minutes. 60 minutes. Okay. So we don't keep it on exact. Anyway, these guys come off of there, and this guy's carrying and using Cliff's cane, and that was overseas. They took some of these men over to where they were wounded. I don't really have much to say other than you cannot have a better friend than Master Tech Sergeant Cliff Reeder. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cliff Reeder.
Oh, you left out one thing. That boy that had the prosthesis eyes
You're right.
had UK made in his eye. Kentucky basketball. I'm proud to have been able to and honored to make that cane. And Paul made a beautiful case for it, and I think he deserves every bit of the honor that you folks are disposal on me. But I've made approximately 40 of those canes. Shipped them, I don't know how many places, shipped them out of the Walter Reed, shipped them down to San Antonio to the Burns unit. I shipped two to California. The fellow that started this, Jack Nitz, out in Tulsa, wrote me or called me and told me that the boy in California, this cane was stolen. So he asked me to make the second one, which I did. Another cane got broken in shipment, and I made that young man a cane also. A young lady in Iraq sent me a flag, and her job was flying flags from different outposts. And her husband was over in Afghanistan. And Judy's sister here, I made copper crosses. Still making a few. But Judy's sister and her husband would send boxes over to boys to help them out with food, clothing, whatever they wanted, they tried to send them over there cheaper. If there was 8 or 10 people in this outfit, she would put that many copper crosses in there. She sent me a flag. Jan also sent to make small Santa Claus Christmas ornaments. Jan sent 2 of each, one for her and one for her husband over in Afghanistan. I happened to meet those folks. They were being transferred back to the States. I was up in Washington on their way to Texas, and they was going through Phoenix. So Jan asked these couple and these 2 little boys if they would stay with them all night, burns unit down in Texas. But I thought that was a neat thing to be able to meet the couple of people that I sent, that Ken had sent these things to. And I'm not a man of very many words, but thank you for showing up. There's supposed to be more here. They probably had a reason for that. There was supposed to be a band here from high school, but just the weather or something held them back. The boys are down toward the county. If there's any questions, maybe I might have an answer.
Liz, how many canes have you carved altogether? You know? Sure you do.
Roughly around 40% of the people. I made maybe twice that many. I've been making walking sticks and things. When I was a kid, I was hunting or fishing, and always bring home a stick. Put it out for a walking stick for a cane.
Right.
And I've got a large garbage can full of things I'll never be able to work because time's running out on me. Any other questions?
How did you first get started carving, Cliff?
My granddaddy come to live with us back in the, I guess it was the 30s. He had 2 pieces, and I copied them, and that's how I got started. I'm not much of a carver or a whittler, but I do some carving. I never taught myself how to use carving gouges. I started out with a pocket knife, and I still use a pocket knife.
Mm-hmm.
You say not much of a carver? How long did it take you to make this one?
When I was working, I'd mow the front lawn, sit down, drink a tea or a pop, whittle on a little bit, and then cut the backyard. So it, as I remember, took the biggest part of one summer to make it. It's all one piece of wood,
Isn't that cool?
and it's longer than it was when I started. It's longer now than when I started because when you cut the lengths apart, you gain a little inch or so on each link. So it makes it longer than when I started. Any other questions? Someone of you ought to have a few questions.
Cliff, I know you want to do this. Everybody, this is the flag that flew over the United States Capitol, okay? It was presented to Cliff, okay, by Senator McCain. And because Dixie Heights High School, all right, for you Buckeyes that are here, that's here in Kentucky. They had a really nice indoor carnival, and Cliff, and they honored Cliff over there for all he was doing. And I want you to know that our sheriff sacrificed a pie in the face at that carnival. And so it's only fitting, since their representatives couldn't make it, that Cliff, you go ahead and present it to the sheriff to get to the school.
Thank you for your service. Cliff and I go back so far that his dad, my dad, went with the same girl in Mount Washington in the 30s. And I showed him a picture of her, and she's still alive at 103 in Florida, and I got a hold of her about 8, 9 years ago, the first time I talked to her since we were just kids. And she reminded me that I could have been her son. And the ladies are still going after this guy. I couldn't get him out of the restroom. Thank you, Cliff, and I will see that this gets presented to Dixie Heights High School.
I think that you, take it back when you asked who that lady was.
decided I certainly was. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Helen or, yeah, yeah, okay. This is gonna come out
Something else that he mentioned that he did carves these crosses, okay, and he's got some of these to pass out to those of you that would like one. Let me say a little history about these crosses. The church I went to, okay, Presbyterian Church over Mount Washington, when I went through confirmation, they gave us these crosses that Cliff carved for us. We didn't know who old Cliff was, but at that time when we were sitting there, I carried my wooden cross everywhere in Vietnam, and there was nothing left of it hardly when I got back. And now, all over the world, there are soldiers, sailors, airmen, coasties, and Marines that have these crosses in their wallets. And let me tell you, if you're a non-believer, it won't mean anything. But if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, this is nice to have in your wallet when somebody's trying to do something nasty to you. So again, Cliff, you've done a wonderful thing for many soldiers. Also, we want to recognize Chris here, the manager of Kroger's, that allowed us to do this. They were concerned because we had people call my house constantly, I'll be there, I'll be there. So, we got one Marine. The Air Force came, and I didn't see any Yankee flankers, but my United States Army. Sarah, who did a lot of the work, putting things together, put out refreshments for everybody. She's just a jewel in the Kroger's store down here. And Linda, I don't know.
I did the food.
You did the food?
I made the food.
Oh, she did the
And
food.
she's a
Yeah,
part of the
thanks.
cultural council that helps.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we want to thank Cliff for giving us the cane and letting us put that in the lobby in honor of all the military and everything. And we do appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much. Turned out gorgeous.
There's 2 dozen, I think 2 dozen here. Any of you would like one?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, since it's so cold, what we can do is I'll push that in, and if you guys want to sit by Starbucks where it's a little warmer, you guys can sit and chat and stuff, and we'll move the refreshments into there, okay?
Great idea.
After we all do this, those that want to go together to have lunch somewhere, we'll do it. We're going to go back towards Mount Washington area in Cincinnati because the Undertaker wants to meet us. Yes. Think me right.
Been measuring me for a long time.
And they said, be sure to bring the share.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you for everything. Wonderful man.
Chris, you would like one?